Hello, everyone. My name is Diego Alfonso. I'm your host with the Florida Aviation Network. We are broadcasting live and in the clear from the Aerospace Discovery section in the Florida Air Museum located in the Sun and Fun Complex in Lakeland, Florida. We are celebrating the 41st annual Sun and Fun Fly-In and Exposition. Today, our guest is Mr. Joe Karabensh. Got that right? Karabensh. He is the president of Missionary Flight International. If you haven't heard about this organization, it is a terrific organization doing a lot of good in parts of the world that normally we don't get to. And just to let us know all the good work that they do, I'm going to have Phil let you know that. Joe, pleasure.
Nice to be here.
Okay. Can you tell the audience what is the function of the Missionary Flights?
Missionary Flights International has a mission to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ in partnership with Bible-centered missions by providing reliable transportation and logistical services.
Okay. And how this organization got started?
It was actually started over 50 years ago in 1964. We celebrated our 50th year last year by one man, Don Belden, who started going to the Bahamas to lead Youth for Christ rallies, and the missionaries there started asking him for supplies. And as time got on, they just wanted more and more supplies, and a board was formed, and then the Caribbean was looked at to see where the greatest need was. And Haiti, being the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, started to be the focus of Missionary Flights International, and that's how we started.
So what does a typical flight, let's say to Haiti, involves? Can you give us a little, just with a big brush, just paint something there that will give us an idea what the organization does, like for instance on a missionary flight to Haiti?
A typical flight? Well, it contains the mail that we bring down for over 400 different Christian mission organizations. There's cargo for the needed supplies that they need, and also passengers. We fly about 4,000 passengers each year doing short-term mission projects. But you know, a lot takes place. You got to check the weather, do your flight plan. Usually the whole day before the flight is loading and preparing manifests, custom documents, and getting ready money to take care of all the fees. And the flight takes all day long. We actually go there and come back in the same day, about 7 hours of flying, but we have stops that we go along the way for fuel in the Bahamas.
Right.
And then also in Haiti to unload, and multiple stops there. We also go into a grass airstrip in the middle of the country to bring in supplies there as well. And so it's exciting to be a part of helping that country.
The fact that that's real flying.
Yes. Yeah.
And where are you based at?
We are currently based in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is about an hour by car north of West Palm Beach. For 42 years, we operated out of West Palm Beach International Airport, but as time went on, they tore down a lot of the smaller buildings, building big hangars that we really couldn't afford. And in 2006, we moved our operation up to Fort Pierce, where actually the Lord provided a wonderful hangar that we can fit 3 DC-3s inside. That's the aircraft that we fly.
Okay. And pilots would want to know this because I've seen those airplanes, because I'm a former pilot examiner, and Fort Pierce has quite a few schools over there, flight training, and I used to go there almost on a daily basis. And I've seen the airplanes there when I'm taxiing out to runway 14, I think.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yep. And runway 9 too, because we got to go right by.
They changed it now.
Oh, okay.
It's 10.
Okay, that's 10.
When the magnetic
Yes.
things change, they
Yes.
change these numbers.
And
yeah?
it does. It
Yeah.
does. Every amount of time, just the magnetic fields just switch. But can you tell us about those DC-3s? Because there's something special about those DC-3s.
Yeah. Well, we started with obviously smaller airplanes, Beech 18s, moved up to DC-3s. At one point, we had 4 DC-3s. They were all radial engine DC-3s, but it was about 3 years ago that we stopped flying the radial engine DC-3s because of the efficiency of the turboprop DC-3. And so the ones we have been converted. back in the late 80s, early 90s with the South African government and the CIA, I guess, got together and did some kind of conversion, and we've picked up a couple of those aircraft, and they are much faster. They fly about 200 knots instead of 150. They carry about 1,500 more pounds of passengers and cargo. They use jet fuel, which is more readily available and cheaper. In the north part of Haiti, which is where our primary focus is, they haven't had the avgas there since 2004.
Right.
And we're able to be a lot more efficient. For those of you that are aviation buffs, you may not know, but the turboprop DC-3 is actually longer. They've extended the airframe. The fuselage is 39 inches longer, so we have more cubic volume inside as well, so we can fit more things. It makes the an excellent aircraft.
Sure, and then you have the safety factor too.
Yes.
Of the turbine versus the prop.
Yeah, there was so much meticulous fine-tuning and maintenance that we had to do after every flight. And the reason, having 4 DC-3s, there was a lot of downtime, a lot of maintenance that we would do. With these 2 turboprop DC-3s, it's doing the same work, if not more, than the 4 radial engine DC-3s did.
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
Much less downtime. We can turn them around the next day if we need to.
And I watch them. I've watched them take off, and they can take off in no time at all. I mean, the performance is just there. I used to fly for Provincetown Boston Airlines.
You probably did.
Did you remember PBA?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually flew for Cape Air,
okay,
which took over the PBA route from Provincetown to Boston in the mid 90s.
Yes.
And that's where I got my aviation training. I trained and then I flew for them for 3 years. And got a lot of experience with flying in fog and ice and the strong winds in the fall. So, yeah,
we used to do
grounds.
Well. We were the largest DC-3 operators in the world.
Yeah.
We had 17 of them.
Okay.
And we were flying Bandits.
Okay.
And the DC-3s. And what you say is right. We used to do 6, 7 hops a day, and 6, 7 instrument approaches to the nitty-gritty.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Especially when you go over the islands, or Nantucket, and all that area up there.
A lot of low IFR.
I didn't think that you were that you would know about PBA.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, I knew John Van Arsdale.
Of course.
And George Felton. I don't know if you know, he was our chief pilot.
But Van Arsdale, because he's one of the owners. You know, he's great company, by the way. A safety record until that. We had that situation there in Jacksonville, and that's what kind of put the nail in the coffin, and everything went south. But great, man. I didn't know you had that experience. Now, let me ask you this. How can I join your organization? What do I have to do, and what are the requirements? Or
Well, for those that want to join us, there's some requirements of having an A&P license. Okay. So many of our applicants would go to get their A&P. There's also a requirement to have your commercial instrument and multi-engine. Also, we are a Christian organization and we're doing missionary work. So generally, they would come through a missionary Bible school, have some Bible credits. But we don't pay people.
I know.
So that's one of the challenges.
It's totally volunteer.
It's volunteer, but we're missionaries and we can raise support through churches and families and individuals, and so funds do come in as donations, and that's what we live off of. And I've been there for almost 19 years now, and the Lord has provided for our family for these 19 years.
Great.
And know He will continue.
Now, that was going to be my next question. If I want to donate to the Missionary Flight International, how do I do that?
Well, you can go to our website, www.missionaryflights.org. Or come visit us in Fort Pierce every March. On the first Saturday, we have an open family day, and we have plane rides, free lunches, tours. So if you want to come by, but go to our website. You can give online, or you can find our address and send money in. But we're doing a great work. We need partners to help us. We're actually in the process of trying to purchase a 3rd turbine DC-3. We're looking at doing it economically by buying in pieces.
Right.
There's a airframe over in South Africa that we would like to get. There's no engines, the wings are off, and there's no instruments in it. But we'd like to go ahead and try and get that, and we've located some engines already, and we'd like to put it together and bring it back here. We think it can save us close to $1 million by the time we get it all
of
done.
of course.
So,
And I went to the website because I wanted to research that, and I like the website. I like the picture of the DC-3 comes right out there. They look very, very nice, those airplanes. But now I want to ask you a question about you. What was the spark? What was the first thought that say to you, I want to be a pilot? We're going to start there.
well, I'm a little different than most missionary aviation pilots, is that I didn't really have this big love for airplanes when I was young. I went to a few air shows, but I really enjoyed working on cars, mechanical things. But when I was in high school, I went with my church youth group down to Mexico. I lived in California at the time, and I went down there for a week during Easter vacation and just saw the needs down there. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be a preacher or something like that, but I can certainly help people. But how can I do it with my mechanical skills or desires to do that? And it was later on that I heard about missionary pilots, where you can be a mechanic, you can be a pilot, and you can help in a support role. Not necessarily being the one out there preaching, but I met a missionary pilot, and they said you can do some training. And eventually I applied to Moody Bible Institute. They have a missionary aviation program, and I got my training there. And prior to that, actually, I had gone over to Africa for a summer mission. And while I was over there, the first night that we spent in Kenya, we were interrupted and our sleep woken up with these machetes coming through our tent. Wow. These guys called themselves the Kenyan Cowboys. And they threatened us with our lives. They threatened to shoot us if we didn't just stay still. They took all our money. They took our sneakers. They took our Levi's. But we were devastated. And we stayed up all night. We ended up, in the morning as the sun rose up, we were singing an old favorite hymn of most people called Great is Thy Faithfulness. And we realized that God was faithful because none of us got hurt. And God, I felt there at that point in my life, He was going to take care of me the rest of my life. And He has. He's brought me. He supported us. The money has come in. And the training went well. And my wife and I looked at where the Lord would bring us in the world. The door opened up at Missionary Flights International in 1996 and been there ever since.
Wow. And where are you originally from?
California.
California.
Yeah.
That's right, because you were, when you talk about Africa, I went to Nigeria, and Africa as a whole is a very nice continent. Those countries as a whole, they're nice, but there's some real bad things.
Yeah.
And in Nigeria, I learned this after the fact. After 7 o'clock in the afternoon, at 7 o'clock in the evening, going from Abuja to the airport, which is 37 kilometers, your life is not guaranteed.
Yo.
It's really, really bad. That's when
Don't go out after dark.
Yes, that's when you really talk to the Lord, you
Yeah.
know. And now, I want to ask you another question now. Besides your missionary work, because I imagine that's your primary thing. I mean, that's your vocation. And what is the second thing? What is the thing that you like to do most besides the missionary work?
You mean personally?
Yeah, personally.
Oh, I enjoy spending time with my wife and family. We live in Florida. We enjoy the warm weather, the beach, and swimming. And I really enjoy working on computers and technical things. Again, I've always enjoyed mechanical and technical electronics, so I enjoyed spending time doing that.
If you had the power to change anything in aviation that will make your work as a missionary flying, what would you have changed?
Well, I would say I would try and change the price of fuel.
Okay.
Because, and the availability of, I mean, that's really, the fuel not being available of avgas in the north part of Haiti really forced us to change our planes using the turboprop DC-3s. But still, fuel is one of the biggest expenses that we have as an organization to keep our work going. It costs roughly about, let's see, we're talking could be about $5,000 just in gas to go back to Haiti and back. And so if we didn't have a high price of fuel, and it's actually, you know, because fuel has gone down recently, it's been great. We have been getting fuel really cheap in the Dominican, but the Bahamas is still over $6 a gallon.
I know.
And So if we could do that, we could provide much more services at a cheaper cost in the long run. So
Now, without putting you on the spot, what would you consider one of the most memorable things that happened to you while on a missionary flight? Or what would be one of the most memorable things that you've done as a missionary pilot?
it would be a few days after the big earthquake in Haiti back in 2010. I was flying down with a number of leaders of some of the missions to go down and investigate what happened, because there's no communication. And they wanted to see if their buildings survived and all this. And we took off from the Bahamas after our fuel stop, and we were told that Haiti closed. They're not letting any more people into Port-au-Prince. So we had to divert to the Turks and Caicos Islands, and we planned to spend the night there. And I thought, well, maybe if we get off early in the morning, get off early, we can get into Port-au-Prince, because basically it was congested, too much congestion. There's no taxiways in Port-au-Prince. It's just one runway, one exit, and a big ramp, and it was just too much congestion. And so basically, when it got too busy, they would just cut it off, and only the military aircraft would go in there. So the next morning we took off, and we got clearance to go. And so we headed down, and just before we got into Cap-Haïtien airspace, they closed it again. So we ended up having to land in the north part of Haiti, in Cap-Haïtien, and the people I was going to pick up were some folks that were going to be evacuated, non-essential personnel from another mission aviation association called MAF, Mission Aviation Fellowship. And I was able to contact them with the satellite phone and say, hey, I can't get to Port-au-Prince, but I'm in Cap-Haïtien. Can you drive halfway to a grass airstrip, and I'll fly there. Maybe we'll spend the night and then fly out the next day. And they said, no, we can't do that. We want you to come here. We're going to go talk to the control tower. So at that time, the U.S. Military was operating the control tower from a folding table and some folding chairs in the grass. And they said, hey, we've got this plane that can come in, they can land on the grass, they don't need the runway, they don't need the ramp, they can pull up in front of our hangar, no problems. And they said, well, okay, just what's their tail number? So they gave us the tail number. So what we did is we called them 10 miles out, they cleared us to land. We did that for the next 2 months. And we had up to 7 flights a day. They gave us a clearance. We didn't have to stand in line with anybody, and we were able to unload. We ended up doing 6 C-130 loads that we chartered to go in there as well, just going over onto a different separate little ramp, and we're able to provide. And just, it was so exciting with all the organizations that partnered with that time during the earthquake. Haiti is still recovering from that earthquake. It'll probably be decades before they recover.
Oh, it was devastating.
Yeah. And so we're continuing to work with missions. Back then we had 250 organizations we partnered with. Now it's 400. We're actually adding about 5 new missions every month. So we need that third plane to continue to grow and expand and help those folks in these poor countries.
Now, let me take you back a minute. When you were talking about the airport, you said that there were no taxiways. That was due to the earthquake, or?
No, they still don't have taxiways. It's just one runway and one exit to a big ramp. And you can imagine, they can't taxi anybody out. Then they got a back taxi when someone's on final. You can't have very many takeoffs and landings in a given hour.
That's right.
And it's a congestion problem. So it's a big runway at 10,000 feet, but no taxiways.
And you say the tower was,
Yeah,
I guess I heard right, on the grass?
Yeah, well, it was damaged, and so they had to set up mobile radios on the grass there with folding chairs and a folding table. So,
but the communication went.
It went well. Yes, communications were there.
So when are you planning to purchase this? When would this acquisition will take place with the last the third DC-3? I believe.
Yeah, well, we hope to purchase the airframe in the next few months. We're raising funds. We have the engines already, but we need about 2.5 million total to complete the project. But we'll get the airframe. We'll get it back here, then we've got to strip it and repaint it, redo the interior, and do avionics and all the required stuff. So that's going to be about $1 million.
I guess that was the point I wanted you to make.
Yeah.
$2.5 million. That's what they need. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and wish you a lot of luck, and God bless you for the work that you do. And thank you. My name is Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network.